Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping in for a bit of a high-speed strategic tour. We're looking at the modern publishing industry.
Yeah, and things are moving fast.
Exactly.
Oh.
Forget what you maybe thought you knew about where books find success, because, well, the landscape is changing faster than traditional acquisitions, for sure.
Definitely.
So we've spent the last week really poring over a stack of industry reports, news bites, bestseller lists, from both sides of the Atlantic.
A lot of data points to connect.
Right. And our sources, they're showing that the entire foundation, maybe of publishing success, is kind of shifting under our feet. So what we want to do here is give you a distilled strategic blueprint. What's actually working right now, how social media is moving the needle, what the diversity of the bestseller charts actually signals, and how books are expanding, like way beyond the page itself.
And what's fascinating, I think, is the sheer speed and the diversity of all this information. Like you said, we're connecting UK print sales figures to, say, US digital lists, and then looking at how these huge novels are spinning off into, well, actual multimedia ventures.
Yeah.
The core theme, though, connecting all these fragments, it seems pretty clear. Understanding these rapid shifts, it isn't really about chasing every single trend.
Right.
It's more about identifying the mechanisms of success, how to stay agile in your strategy.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. The market is, it seems, aggressively rewarding relevance and speed. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Starting with, I think, the single biggest force that has really violently shaken up genres and kind of rewritten the rule book for sales velocity.
We have to start there.
We have to open with this data point from the UK. I mean, the sales of science fiction and fantasy books, they didn't just inch up.
No, not at all.
They absolutely rocketed by a staggering 41.3% between 2023 and 2024.
41.3. It's huge.
That is an enormous industry-wide jump.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's fueled by something fundamentally new.
And we know pretty much what fueled it. This seismic boom was driven overwhelmingly by one very specific category.
Romantasy.
Exactly, romantasy. That subgenre and the associated just explosive momentum within the TikTok community. BookTok specifically.
We've been tracking it, but this data...
It confirms the power, right?
Yeah.
Seeing the official numbers. It's not just anecdotal anymore. So what this really confirms is that genres that were, for decades considered pretty niche...
Like corner specialties, yeah.
...are now undeniably mainstream. And the implication here, I think, is critical for listeners. Community momentum on social media is a serious, verifiable driver of sales. It can shift an entire genre's performance in, a single year?
Seems like it.
It's not just another marketing channel. It's like an engine of demand.
Okay, but if BookTok can drive 41% growth in a key category, seemingly overnight, doesn't that make traditional publishing timelines and, practices...
So the long lead times?
Yeah, the long lead times, the slow decision-making. Doesn't it make them seem dangerously slow? Maybe even, dare I say, obsolete?
That's a really important question, and it's definitely one the industry is grappling with right now. I mean, while social media clearly dictates the speed of demand, we can't just ignore the traditional infrastructure.
Yeah.
It still provides the critical machinery.
The distribution rights.
Exactly. Distribution, translation rights, quality control, all that. So the lesson isn't that the old system is, dead.
Okay.
But it absolutely must adapt. Drastically. Its timeline, its acquisitions philosophy, it needs to try and match the pace of that community engagement loop.
So the key for you, listening, regardless of whether you write fantasy or, something completely different, is maybe to look past the specific genre itself and study the integrated mechanism of momentum. That's the core of it. Yeah. Right. So if you write genre hybrid stories, or even straight literary fiction, you need to consider how your story can tap into that vital mix. Community, shareability, strong reader engagement potential. That's the engine you need to understand.
The underlying principle.
Now let's maybe pivot a bit from that massive genre surge and look at what is actually hitting the top charts right now. Because the breadth of success across different formats and categories, it's surprisingly diverse.
It is. It's not just one thing.
And it tells a story, I think, about positioning.
Definitely.
So take the Apple Books Top 10 list from March 2025. This is driven by digital purchases, right? Right. Impulse buys.
Yeah, quick decisions often.
We saw high-concept fantasy romance like Onyx Storm, obviously. But right alongside it, you had these immediate gratification, productivity, and self-help books like The Let Them Theory. And then classic-style thrillers, Midnight Black. a real mix.
And if you look at that Apple list, the digital format, it does seem to reward books offering either immediate utility, like you said.
Fix my problem now.
Right, or intense escapist, like binge reading, which explains the productivity manual sitting next to high traction fantasy.
Exactly. But then if we look across the pond, the pattern shifts just slightly. It holds true to diversity, but maybe favors different types of books.
Okay.
So, the Sunday Times bestsellers list in the UK, often more dominated by physical print sales.
Right, different buying habits.
It also showed massive breadth. This was for the week ending September 13th, 2025. They had the expected, blockbuster thrillers, Dan Brown territory.
Yeah, big names.
But chart success also belonged to, deeply personal memoir, that Miriam Margolyes's book, for example.
Yeah.
And then lighter, maybe more character-driven fiction from Laurie Gilmore, also right up there.
So when you synthesize both, the U.S. digital lists and the U.K. print lists, which reflect pretty different purchasing behaviors, the takeaway isn't really that one genre is dominant overall.
Yeah.
But that opportunities exist across the entire spectrum. Fiction, nonfiction doesn't matter. Success seems tied more to strong positioning and immediate reader traction rather than just the category itself.
Okay, so here's where it gets, for me, really interesting. Platform community vital, we know that. But if your product positioning is weak, your brilliant concept, it just drowns in the noise.
Yeah, absolutely.
It gets lost.
So how do authors actually ensure that vital positioning is competitive? What does that mean in practice?
Well, this comes down to optimization, specifically your metadata.
Okay, define that quickly.
Sure. So for listeners who aren't maybe on the technical side of publishing, metadata is basically everything that describes the book to the retail algorithm. So your title, your cover art, your description, and crucially, your targeted keywords and categories.
Got it.
Competitive positioning means ensuring those elements clearly communicate the book's hook, that they appeal to the right community, and that they're optimized for search. You actually had to think about competitive keyword usage, maybe even A/B testing your cover copy. Wow. Okay.
That's the non-glamorous work. But it often separates a successful niche title from one that just vanishes.
That is the practical application right there.
Yeah.
So the market does have space for niche or crossover works,
Yes, absolutely.
whether it's specialized memoir or genre-blended fiction. But only if the voice and the core concept are spot on.
And packaged effectively.
Right, packaged effectively. So don't assume only the massive fantasy hits or the established celebrity memoirs win. If your niche is defined well, it can attract its own targeted audience pretty efficiently.
That's the opportunity. Find your specific audience and speak directly to them through that positioning.
Okay, let's shift focus again from initial sales, immediate chart presence, towards longevity. Expansion. The question kind of changes from how do I sell the first copy to how does this book survive and grow?
Into a career asset. Yeah.
Actually.
Right.
And one of the most fascinating specific examples highlighting this shift, it's the expansion of the Fourth Wing series.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It didn't just stay on the page, did it? It expanded into a massive board game tie-in.
A complex one, too.
Which signals something huge, I think. Popular fiction is actively becoming multimedia, extending its world in physical, tactile ways almost immediately.
That tie-in is like the quintessential example of an IP strategy.
IP, intellectual property.
Right. And in publishing, that means viewing your book not just as a standalone text, but as a licensable world or a story universe.
Which feels different.
It's very different. I mean, 10 years ago, maybe even 5, a publisher might have, laughed you out of the room for suggesting a board game tie-in before the book was even guaranteed a sequel.
Definitely.
The fact that this is happening now signals a complete philosophical shift, potentially in acquisitions, where they might be buying a world that can translate
into various media.
Exactly, not just buying a manuscript.
That's a big shift.
And that cross-media expansion, it's happening right alongside these broader global trends we're seeing. We are seeing major increases in demand for global translation rights.
Makes sense.
Greater author platform optimization, across all channels. And a continued, just undeniable rise of alternative formats.
Like audio.
High-quality audio, yeah, and serialized digital editions, too.
So the implication for you, the listener, is that you almost need to start thinking long-term.
Yeah.
Right now, your book's world might and maybe should extend beyond the page.
You have to consider it.
Yeah. Consider the branding, the longevity of your concept.
Yeah.
Maybe even from the outline stage.
Exactly. The advantage in the modern market, it really goes to authors who think globally, who consider international rights potential right from the start, and who budget for, or at least plan for, alternative formats, like dedicated, high-quality audio editions. That's huge now.
It really is.
You kind of need to think of yourself not just as the writer of a book,
Mhm.
but maybe as the creator and the steward of a sustainable IP asset.
That's a powerful reframe. Creator and steward of an IP asset. Okay, so what does this all mean? Let's try and summarize those 3 key messages we've distilled from all our sources today.
Let's do it.
First, genre boundaries. They're irrevocably shifting, driven by community enthusiasm, social media velocity, making hyper-niche categories mainstream almost overnight.
Check. Book Talk proved that.
Second, strategic hook and technical positioning, that metadata optimization we talked about, are critically important because you just need to stand out in that crowded, high-speed field.
Absolutely essential. You can't skip that step.
And third, opportunities for monetization for growth. They exist well beyond the traditional format. We are firmly in the age of multimedia IP expansion, global rights, and audio supremacy.
That really sums it up. That's the landscape. And, staying informed about these industry trends, it isn't about nervously trying to follow every single wave that passes by.
No, you just go crazy.
Right. It's more about understanding the deep currents and then identifying the wave that aligns perfectly with your specific voice and vision. That's how you turn all this trend data into a real competitive advantage for yourself.
Find your wave.
Find your wave. And here's maybe the final provocative thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. If social media is rapidly turning niche genres into mainstream phenomena.
Like we saw with Romantasy.
Exactly. And if cross-media expansion is becoming the norm, like that complex board game tie-in, how might the actual definition of a book fundamentally change in the next, say, 3 years?
That's a big question.
And if it's changing that fast, how should you start writing today to maybe accommodate formats that, well, that might not even fully exist yet?
Wow. Okay. Powerful questions. Definitely demand some critical strategic thinking. Take these insights, use them to fuel your planning, your writing, your strategy, and we'll catch you next time you're ready for a deep dive.